Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to give you my thoughts on WrestleMania 41 Night 2. Now, as I said in my review of Night 1, I'm a big wrestling fan. I know I talk mostly about movies and shows on this page, but my love for wrestling goes back to when I was a little kid as well. So I kind of want to make that more of at least a more semi-regular discussion for myself, too. And now, if you've seen my review of Night 1, you know I really wasn't that fond of it aside from the Triple Threat main event. And I will say Night 2 I thought was, for the most part, much more solid all around. Um, and we're just going to talk, there's nothing fancy, I'm just going to talk about every match, go down the card, and what I thought about it all. You have the Intercontinental title match, the Fatal 4-Way with Dirty Dom, Finn Balor, Braun Breaker, and Penta. And this is a pretty good one. I think Braun Breaker is definitely a standout, as he usually tends to be. Penta I like. I'm for some reason just not quite sold on him yet, and I don't know why. Finn Balor at this point feels like another body. But Dom winning the Intercontinental title I actually think is a good move. Breaker wasn't pinned, and you have escalating the tensions between Dom and Balor. And Dom is obviously very over with the crowd, and they seem to react very well to him actually winning a singles title on the main roster. So I think that was the right call, and it frees up Braun Breaker. I don't think they should do like a Dom and Breaker feud or anything like that. But we'll see. Pretty good match, pretty decent. I don't want to say it was great or anything, but I did like it. Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. I'm a big fan of Drew McIntyre. I've warmed to Damian Priest a bit over the last year or two. I was one of those that was disappointed that this is what McIntyre was getting at WrestleMania after everything. But I knew they were going to turn in a solid match, and they did. And this is definitely much better than, per se, the other mid-card matches of Night 1, like the Knight and Fatu match, like the New Day tag match, and the others. This was much more solid and all-around entertaining and well-worked than any of those, I thought. Some really good spots, like with Drew doing the Future Shock on the steel steps and everything, and just the consistency of both these guys back and forth, I thought really brought it into a pretty enjoyable outing. Then you have AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. Honestly, fell a bit below what I was thinking. AJ Styles is a guy who can usually get a really good match out of anyone, and Paul, like him or hate him, I really don't like him as a person. He does seem to have a natural ability for this sort of thing. I was expecting better, though. It just felt kind of mundane for both guys, even what we've seen of Logan Paul so far. You have Karrion Kross's appearance, which I guess was semi-interesting, but I don't know, it felt like it needed more to be on the WrestleMania card, and the build hasn't been all that great either. It was fine, it was passable, but forgettable. You have Randy Orton's open challenge after Kevin Owens being injured, so he knew it was never going to have the build that the Owens match did. A lot of people are thinking Rusev or Aleister Black, who are supposed to be apparently returning soon. But no, neither, which is probably for the best, because you don't want them to return then lose right away, and you don't really want Randy Orton to lose this WrestleMania right now. So with it being Joe Hendry, the TNA champion, my wife is into him because of the TikTok meme stuff. I think he's fine. I'm not crazy about the guy, but I do think it's a really positive sign of the collaboration between WWE and TNA and other wrestling companies in general, putting their world champion on the stage against someone like Randy Orton. I think that's a really good thing. The match was only a few minutes or so long, but it was good. Had the Randy Orton RKOing him out of frame when he was doing that, the face expression and everything. So it was disposable, sure, but I think good for what the purpose ended up serving. Then you have the women's tag team title match. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defending against Lyra Valkyria and a mystery partner after Bayley was written out. I'm not a big Bayley fan. I just don't like her as much as some of the others, and I just don't see her as a legend. She is a consistent enough worker. She's just not a favorite of mine. I'm sorry. But I do think it's weird that the first year we have women with a United States title and Intercontinental title, neither of them are defending it at WrestleMania of all shows, which I think is just honestly stupid. That part does aggravate me a bit. Especially, I do like a lot about Kyria as well. We do have to reveal that's Becky Lynch's return despite some of her possible retirement talks lately, playing on some of the history between Lyra and her, with Becky having put her over on NXT and everything, which kind of speaks to some of the inconsistent booking, though, because Lyra beat Becky on NXT, but then she lost to Bayley on the main roster. Then she was able to beat Bayley just like a week ago. But it is what it is. So if this goes towards like Becky turning on Lyra or something, or it being like a feud between the two of them down the road for the Intercontinental title, it might wind up okay. But for now, they really could have done something else with Lyra being the Intercontinental champion and all. It was an okay match. Becky is one of my favorites. I do think she's definitely earned the legend moniker. You can see a bit of rust with her, but I thought she did a pretty good job. The match wasn't anything special, but it did, have the coattails of, just how nice it was to see Becky again. So for what it was fine. And now we have the women's world title match, which was Io Sky defending against both Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Rhea Ripley is probably my favorite women's wrestler right now. She's my age and already, I think, earning herself a Hall of Fame worthy career. And the match was about as good as I was expecting it to be. It definitely helped make WrestleMania 41 still a pretty good show for the most part. And this was definitely one of the best matches on the card. All the women turned in some really good performances. There was a spot with the three of them at the turnbuckle, and Io ends up getting kind of flipped with her face going onto the top of the ring post, which was a scary spot, but it worked out apparently, and it looked perfect. And with I also really enjoyed Rhea's makeup. It was sort of like Joker-esque to a point from a particular storyline. But Io retaining, I actually thought was the good call. Because as much as I love Rhea Ripley, I do know she's already had a lot of great moments, even WrestleMania moments. Bianca's had her time at those too. So Io definitely deserves something like that herself. So her retaining, I thought, was good and doesn't hurt the others. I know there are some really strong camp wars online that they're saying that Bianca got screwed or whatever. Like, oh yeah, someone's automatically buried just because they lose. Let's just calm down. Rhea didn't take the pin though, which I do appreciate personally. But definitely a very, very good match. Now we have Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the WWE World Title. This was odd. It was, I just did not think it was very good. Cena goes as well as he can now. He didn't necessarily do a bad job or anything. There were some decent bits to it. But you could tell Cody is almost going too fast for him at certain points. But they still worked well enough together, I suppose. And this match was definitely not built as much on the wrestling itself as everyone kind of eager to see what they're going to do with the ending of it. We have Travis Scott interfering, just Travis Scott, no Rock, no Final Boss, anything like that. It was just awkward, man. Why Travis Scott is such a fixture, I don't know. And it's just odd. As much as I love The Rock, why did he insert himself into the storyline in such a prominent way and not be there for the one of the main payoffs of it, with Cena winning his 17th world title? I'm glad Cena has finally kicked Ric Flair's record off. But the way it happened, it could have been executed in such a more prominent way than it was. And I don't know, it just came across kind of clunky. But again, I'm fine with seeing his heel run, going in this direction and seeing how that plays out. So overall, not the best WrestleMania, not as good as WrestleMania 40, but not every WrestleMania has to be like some kind of life-changing, event or anything like that. Just sort of like a good culmination of this year in WWE. And it was decent, I guess, in the end. Some bright spots, some kind of more mundane, flat spots than I was expecting, but, I still enjoy watching. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this. Follow me on TikTok, of course, Twitter, Instagram, later. Bray Wyatt shirt.